Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be talking about Planetside 2. Now this game's been out for a little over 3 weeks. It's had a pretty good launch, I have to say. Of course, it's had some bugs here and there. The devs have been great about updating the game. If you've seen my review, my initial review of Planetside, you'll know that I love this game. I think it's got great potential. I think it's awesome where it currently is. But now that we're sort of past this little initiation phase of Planetside 2, I think it's a good time to start talking about what changes I would like to see. Now, I'm not going to talk about bugs or anything like that. I know the devs are pretty much aware of all the main bugs and all the performance issues and all that kind of stuff, and they're working hard on getting that up and running. But I am going to talk about some simpler concepts, some user interface concepts, some class concepts, just some simple stuff that I think could be implemented to the game without perhaps rewriting the entire engine code, that would hopefully improve and make it a lot more fun for casual players and the more hardcore players. Alright, so let's get into it. The first series of ideas I have for improving the interface for this game has to do with map updates. Now, when assaulting bases, the map is not that helpful at pointing people in the right direction. You sort of have a little capture bar letting you know how close you are to capturing an area. You have a capture point bar usually if there's a base that has multiple areas that you need to capture. But the map, when you pull up the map by hitting M or look at the minimap, it's not exactly pointing you towards key objectives. Generators, shield generators, and spawn control units and stuff like that are listed on the map, but they're not really highlighted or shown in a way that's sort of like, hey, if you take out this generator, it will lower this shield. Shields are not shown on maps. This is one thing that I would like to update, is show active shields on maps or show shields that are deactivated on the map. So you can pull up a base in a region that you're fighting in, look at the base, see what shields are down, see what shield generators are down. You can see what shield generators are down, but again, the icons are sort of arbitrary because if you're not familiar with how base mechanics work, it's harder to tell. It'd be kind of cool to have maybe a little power line from a shield generator going to the shield that it operates shown on the map. Making it a little easier to understand what shields are controlled by what. Perhaps make some shield generators blinking if those are the top priorities. For example, if your main objective was to take out the spawn control unit, but there's still a shield shielding that spawn control unit, that shield generator should be highlighted on the minimap. You pull up that minimap and there's a big, maybe glowing orange shield generator or something with arrows pointing to it. All of a sudden everybody's like, oh, that's our main objective. We got to take out this shield generator. That's inside the base. What do we need to do to get in there? All of a sudden you can unify people that aren't really in communication with each other. Now, speaking of unifying people, I think squad members should have unlimited or greatly increased draw distance on their icons. I lose track of squad members all the time. For example, when I'm in an air battle and we're fighting around, getting in dogfights, one of my squad members sort of flies off trying to lose somebody on his tail, and he's asking for backup. Well, I can't see him by just looking around real fast. I have to bring up the main map and try and find him on the main map because his icon has disappeared. He's flown a little bit too far away from me, even though we're generally in the same region or close enough by. I can't pinpoint his location that quickly. I think squad members should have that unlimited draw distance, just making it that much easier for you to tell where your squad is located at all times. Often you will get separated from your squad, and this will just make it that much easier to find them again. Again, along that same concept, I think the minimap should have its zoom scale improved upon. For example, again, when you're flying around, you're traveling at very high speeds. I think the minimap could perhaps zoom out a bit more. There's many times where there's an enemy fighter that's actually spotted who's on my tail, but I won't see him on the minimap because he's too far behind me. I think that zoom needs to be more appropriate. Also, when you hit H on the keyboard, not a lot of people know about this, the minimap is increased in size, making it a lot easier to sort of notice details. The big problem with this is that you lose a lot of your information when you increase it in size. I don't know why the devs decided to take away capture points and all these listing of resources and stuff when you increase the minimap size. I think it could have easily been left in. I would love to still have this information in, allowing some players like pilots to have the minimap much larger on their screen when they're playing. Okay, my last map-related change has to do with hot drop locations. You know, when you pull up the big map and you see those explosion icons and you have the option to hot drop on those explosion icons, well, that's helpful and it's cool. It's a nice way for getting into action right when you join a server. Here's a problem though. I'm level 35. I've sunk quite a few hours into this game, and I have never once been in a battle on Amerish. I've flown over Amerish a few times, but I've never once seen a decently sized battle on Amerish for infantry. I think a big problem with this is that people just keep dropping in on the hot drop areas, and people see the explosion icons, which represent the biggest battles in the entire server, and people just want to stick around the action, so there's no incentive for them to go over to Amerish where there's no action going on and start fighting there. I think a good way to potentially break this streak and pull people away from their safety continents, like Indar on my server, there's always action on Indar, would be to make it so that hot drop locations have to have at least one explosion on each continent, meaning whatever the battle size is on a continent, there will be an explosion icon even if it's a small battle. So it'll still show you the largest battle on each continent, and that will pop up on the main screen, and this will sort of give people a little more incentive to drop on different continents. Sometimes I get on and I really want to play on Amerish. It's beautiful, it's got force combat, all this really cool stuff, and I would be willing to drop in on the biggest battle on Amerish regardless of whether it's like a tenth the size of the biggest battle on Indar. Okay, now I'm going to talk about a few UI updates that I think would make a great improvement and really help new players and veteran players alike. Now, stats and percentages are listed for some certification upgrades, but not all. And it really bothers me that there isn't a consistent listing of percentages when you're upgrading certain things. Now, one example is armor for vehicles like tanks or fighters. It always lists the damage reduction that you're getting by upgrading your armor. There's 3 levels of armor upgrades for fighters. It'll tell you what each level of the upgrade does, how much it costs in cert points, so you basically can decide, well, do I really want to reduce the damage I'm taking from flak by 5% by upgrading it one more level, or do I want to save those cert points for something a little more worthwhile? Now, if you look at something simple like the engineer tool, if you want to upgrade that in your certification screen, you basically are given 6 levels of upgrades, and each level just says increases the repair speed. You're met with more and more cost for each level of upgrading the tool. So you don't know if it's worth spending 150 points or 500 points for the last level of increasing the repair speed, because it doesn't say by what percentage. If it just listed a percentage on there, then you could decide, well, okay, that's totally worth those 500 certification points. Or maybe it only increases the speed by 2%. You can say, alright, I'm going to save those certification points for a long time and spend them on other stuff until I'm maxed out, and then maybe one day drop 500 certs for only a 2% increase. I have no idea how much I'm improving my character, and I think percentages and stats should be listed for all certifications across all classes. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is a few ideas I have for class balance, which I think would be relatively simple to implement, and a lot of it revolves around the engineer class. Now, my biggest gripe with the engineer right now is when you unlock things like anti-tank mines or anti-personnel mines, you have to replace your ammo pack with them. The ammo pack is the freaking soul of the engineer. That's what engineers are for. They're for throwing down ammo packs to keep the infantry push going. If you have to replace those with your anti-tank or anti-personnel mines, you lose a huge chunk of what the engineer is actually supposed to be. Now, on the other hand, you're forced to carry this huge turret around with you all the time. I say, let us replace the turret with anti-tank or anti-personnel mines. I mostly don't use the turret. Sometimes it's good for a few situations here and there, but let us make the decision whether or not we want to carry this giant turret or maybe a few mines around with us. I think that would be a much better trade-off instead of getting rid of the ammo pack. I can tell you there's nothing more annoying than people running around saying, I need some ammo, when you're running around with mines and you don't have any ammo to give them. Now the next thing that I want to change is make the ammo belt more viable. Now my current problem with the ammo belt is, one, it's incredibly expensive. The first level is 150 certification points just to get one more stinking magazine for your primary weapon. And on top of that, you have to replace really useful things with your ammo belt, like flak armor, your nanoweave armor, faster shield regeneration, basically things that make you a more effective person in a firefight. You have to replace those with just carrying a few more magazines. I hate this trade-off, and I know that some of the devs think that providing, if everybody was able to run with ammo belts, the engineer would have no point in the game. I disagree. I think that, and I know personally, if I had more ammo, I would be taking more shots. There's a lot of players in the game that I see at medium or longer ranges that I don't shoot at because I'm conserving my ammo because I have so little ammo. If I had more ammo, I would be taking a lot more shots at players that I think I could kill rather than players that I only know I could kill. There would be more bullets flying through the air, and at the same time, engineers, when they dropped ammo packs, they would probably be replenishing a lot more ammo instead of just 1 or 2 magazines. So people would be able to shoot more freely, have a little bit more fun. And if you just let us place that ammo belt in a slot that was something like, instead of med packs or restoration kits, let us use that utility slot for the ammo belt rather than something extremely key like body armor. Okay, so my last class balance concept is actually inventing a new tool for engineers to use. I think engineers still need a little bit more stuff to make them more fun to play. And this tool, I think, could actually really make combat and base sieges much more fun and make the engineer more important for base sieges. I think we should be allowed to replace the turret with a placeable jump pad. So you know those jump pads that are up on top of towers or around the map that allow you to go flying through the air? I think engineers should be able to place ones that only send you slightly up in the air, but just high enough to get over, say, a base wall. These in turn would sort of take the role of a siege tower in medieval warfare. If you haven't noticed, sieging bases in Planetside 2 is very much medieval style combat. You've got big walls keeping people out, and you've got gates, you know, shield generators, which you have to try and break through and all this stuff, and you've got turrets with big covered areas shooting down on people. It's very much assaulting a castle. When people assaulted castles back in medieval times, they had siege towers which you could wheel up to the side of a wall, and it would allow infantrymen to get up on that wall and attack from there, basically creating an entrance where there wasn't one. A placeable jump pad, which didn't send you very high, just high enough to get up onto a wall, would be awesome. It would allow engineers to let other infantry classes access to bases over walls. So all of a sudden you could park a Sunder near a wall, put a jump pad there, and all of a sudden the infantry are now swarming in over a base wall. Defenders would have a much more dynamic and interesting way to try and defend bases, and I think it would really vary up battles a lot more and add a huge new level to potential tactics and give the engineer class a much more important role in infantry combat. Okay, my last concept here has to do with air vehicles and landing pads. Now, this has happened to me quite a few times. When you spawn an air vehicle, it will appear in the air very close to a landing pad. Many times somebody's coming in for a landing and will either collide with me, having spawned the vehicle, or I will collide with somebody who just spawned their vehicle. And there's really no way around this other than learning the exact spawn locations, which are these random points floating in the air near a base. They're very hard to try and remember where they are, and they're extremely close to landing pads, and they often get in the way of my flight path. So this is something that's highly annoying and I think easily fixable. My solution to this would be use holographic emitters to display a area in the sky where the aircraft spawn that would either be landing lights or little arrows or some sort of indicator just showing to stay away from this area. Aircraft will be spawning here. This way pilots know not to fly in front of that zone, otherwise you have the potential of ramming into a recently spawned aircraft. Now, if you're going to continue on with this holographic technology, I think it could be further used to try and improve the airflow around landing pads. Currently, landing pads are just a complete jumble. can't tell you how many times I've either hit somebody taking off from a landing pad, they've hit me taking off. There's just people flying over landing pads all around, and there's just a lot of collisions. I would say I probably die just as much to friendly collisions around landing pads where I'm trying to repair as I do to enemy fighters. If you use holographic stuff to designate landing portions of the pads that you're going to try and land within, like maybe divide a pad up into sections, say you land here, I'll land there, we won't get in each other's way, or even do landing arrows, say approach the pad from this direction and fly away from the pad in this direction, don't fly here, stuff like that. I'm sure the artist could come up with something simple yet effective just to improve airflow around rearming and repair pads. So anyway, that's my list of changes. I would love to hear any ideas that you guys have for other changes, things that I perhaps didn't think about, or maybe some of my ideas could be even further improved upon. That often happens. You hear an idea and you say, well, that's a good idea, but what if we did this instead? I would love to see those kind of comments and stuff down below. So anyway, thanks for sticking through this video if you have. I know it's pretty long, but again, I think it's important that the community really comes forth in a constructive, helpful way, talks to the devs, communicates with the devs to try and improve the game and let them know what we want to see. And this is my attempt at doing so. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.